The other thing that's changing in the data world is how we work with data. We've often worked with data on-prem for a long time, and so we were doing things like batch loading of data.
Thanks very much, Sri, and great to see everybody here today. As Sri said, my name is Johnathan Maltby. I'm coming to you from the Sunshine Coast up here in Queensland. A little bit about me: I like to think of myself as more of a sort of a peak performance coach.
I brought some data. LinkedIn says that 49% of the professionals have rejected our offer after a bad experience with the company, even if the job or the salary was good.
Dream on, that felt like the perfect note to start on, a reminder to keep going, to keep building, even when it's hard. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Talent Frontier by Lumen. I'm genuinely so glad that you are here. Just a quick update, we did have some technical glitch and your name is coming up as Srimoyee. So we have a whole lot of Srimoyees joining today. Thank you so much for that. If you can please rename yourselves to the ones, your real name actually, that would be so wonderful. I know your schedules are packed and the notifications never stop. So before we jump in, just a few quick housekeeping things to just set us up. Best experience, it would be awesome if you can join from a laptop or a desktop mobile. Can be, joining from a mobile can sometimes be a bit moody and tricky. Stay on mute unless you're speaking. It just keeps things smooth for everyone. If tech acts up just like it did just now, don't panic. We have backups. Fingers crossed, no more hiccups anymore. If you've got a question, pop it into the chat anytime we are watching. Bring your curiosity, grab your coffee, and let's enjoy this together. Now, before we begin, I think, apologies, we need to, is the slides moving, guys? Thank you. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. A quick heads up, this session is being recorded. Some parts of it may be shared online later. So if you're not comfortable being recorded, totally understand. I'll make sure you get the replay after this. Now, a quick look as to why we are here and what Lumen is all about. Hi, everyone. My name is Srimoyee, and I built Lumen. I built it during a time of deep reflection after being made redundant and while navigating cognitive challenges that made me question everything that I was so sure about. But here I am, still showing up, still building. Lumen means light. And that's exactly what I needed in that moment, clarity and direction, something to hold on to, and something, the same thing that light would be for others. I created Lumen so talent leaders don't have to do this alone. So they have somewhere real to turn to, something human, something grounded, not just another consultancy, but a true partner in the messy, beautiful work of attracting, engaging, and retaining great people. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about strategy or execution, it's about heart. So welcome, truly. I'm so excited you are here. Now, I've tried to make this a session informative, engaging, and genuinely useful. You'll walk away with tangible takeaways and hopefully a bit of inspiration too. So let's warm up. Now we are going to kick things off with something that is quite interactive. We're using an interactive AI tool to check the pulse of the room. And of course, why not AI, right? So if anything goes weird or if you're already joining from your mobile, no stress at all. Just drop your answers in the chat. We are looking at it. But we'd love for you to participate in the tool directly if you can. It will really help us shape things and the session together. Now, I'm dropping the link in the chat, and you can see the QR code up on the screen. And my apologies, 2 screens, so I'm just kind of looking here and there. So you would see a QR code there up on the screen. What all you would have to do is hover your mobile camera on the QR code and tap the link. Enter your name, again, not Srimoyee. You can get as creative as you can and drop a fun pseudonym if you want. Could be Captain Data, it could be AI Einstein if you want. Everything is acceptable. So let us know. We'll give a second. So we do have 2 test questions first. Think of it as a vibe check, probably before the main event. So let's go. Our first question today, very, very interesting. Question 1. Is this the first question? Is this the first question? Yes, no? There's no maybe. We still had 4 with yes. Good job. Okay, let's dive into our next set of questions, which is going to be building up for our sessions today. How is AI impacting your work today? How is AI impacting your work today? It's a word cloud, so you could be creative, could be workflow, design, storytelling, whatever is lighting up your way. A lot. And you know what? I would be really curious if you're not using AI in your daily life. Drop it in the chat. Let's kind of see if, that's cool too. You must be superhuman. Breezy, optimization, more creativity, confusion. Yeah, I'm always confused with my kind of thing. I'm always confused which one to go for actually. Budget. Whoever's put budget, I would like to know which AI tool you're using. My budgets are running low. Productivity improvement, good one. Let's move on to the next. I see participants still typing. Easy peasy. Okay, let's move on to the next one. What is the most exciting way you're using AI in your work right now? What is the most exciting way you are using AI in your work right now? Is it overwhelming? Is it empowering, helpful? Just be real, because for me, it's overwhelming. I honestly don't know. I can't keep up with the space. In one, you can have multiple words going there. What is the most exciting way you are using AI? Email tone check. Breakaway, procrastination. You're my friend, buddy, whoever's written that. Content, speedy delivery. Breakaway, getting work done faster, of course. Okay, question 3. Let's move on. Which AI tool or feature are you most excited to explore in 2025? Which AI tool or feature are you most excited to explore in 2025? Could be anything that you are excited here. Sora, AutoGPT, video generation, go wild. I'd probably opt for a food app that can just give me food the minute I see it. See any food popping up. Grok, Perplexity, and this could be some places where we could, come to know of some tools that we could use in the next coming days. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to the next question. Now, many of you in this room, you might not be into hiring or recruitment, but think of yourself today for the next two questions. Like, if you were a candidate, which value would matter most to you in hiring? Is it equity? Is it empathy? Or is it automation? Yes, I know, right, Gayatri? Food app would be really cool. Okay, moving on to the next one. Complete this phrase in 2025, the future of hiring is. In 2025, the future of hiring is. Automation. Can we just have it simplified? Thank you, whoever's written that. Okay, then. I think that's the end of our little interactive session. This was, again, AI built. It was, thankfully, the prompts did work for us. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for that amazing energy. So your answers were a perfect segue into our speakers. Throughout the sessions, keep your questions coming in the chat. We've got a live Q&A after each speaker. And if we don't get to yours, I promise I'll follow up with you afterward. Let's get started. Our first guest is Heidi Hasting, Microsoft Most Valuable Professional or MVP, co-founder of Adelaide Power BI User Group, and someone who makes data feel human, which is not a small feat, hey, Heidi. So if you're curious about what an MVP actually is all about, we will put it in the chat for you to go through it and look at it at a later stage. Over to you, Heidi. Sorry.
Excellent. You're all good. I should have tested it before.
No, you're good. Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah, cool. Hey everyone, as you can probably tell, I'm based in Australia, given the accent. I am a female in a STEM field, which automatically comes with challenges. You're probably running, what the heck is it as an MVP? No, it's not it's not MVP in terms of product delivery. It's an award that Microsoft gives to people in the community. And currently there's about 4,000 of us globally across all different award categories. So I'm an MVP in data platform, which means I spend a lot of my time outside of my day job working with the community to upskill, share my technical expertise, and share that knowledge around the globe. So you often see me both in person and virtually around the world. But some of the challenges I wanted to just talk to you about as being a female in an IT career is that I've come from a country upbringing. So I grew up on a rural farm doing agricultural farming, cereal cropping, transitioned through to computer science at university. And then that got me into my first job in an IT company that happened to be global. They no longer exist, EDS, they got bought by HP, but I worked in a global team in that space. And I started sort of at the lower position within the team and worked my way up. And then I transitioned to different roles after that. And I got out of software development and transitioned into data. And so now I work with some of the Microsoft products. You may have heard of Microsoft Product, which is the new SaaS application. And that's all about working with data. And we also enable AI. So we work with AI as well. Some of the key things I found is that not only is the technology field evolving, the professional development space is evolving. We're starting to see more and more within the data field as well, that all the neurodiversity is now coming to more of an awareness. So we've known that there's been challenges for females in IT, and I know for myself, you'll often feel that you're not considered technical. We actually have a quote within the sort of the Microsoft Data Platform community that's assumed she's technical and capable of breathing fire. And when you think about those sort of quotes existing in our community, you can understand that they probably come from the fact that a lot of females have been automatically assumed that they're not a technical resource. What does that mean? I've been on teams where I will sit in a meeting. I'm the only female in the meeting, and it's presumed that I'll basically be the secretary. And I'll take the notes and the minutes and I'll send them out and check and do all the updates for people. Now, that's an automatic assumption that can occur for you as well as me, and that can occur for anyone. But for females, it does happen where they assume we're not technical, or I'll be asked to look at a technical problem and they'll assume I don't know anything. It's handy to be able to say that I'm a Microsoft MVP, because that kind of breaks those conversations. So when some people are talking to me and assume I have zero knowledge in something, I can turn around and say, actually, I've got 13 plus Microsoft certifications and I am recognized as an MVP with Microsoft. So we can go straight into the technical deep dive in this particular subject matter area. The other thing that's changing in the data world is how we work with data. We've often worked with data on-prem for a long time, and so we were doing things like batch loading of data. Then we transitioned into where we had the cloud environment and hybrid cloud environment, and we started to enable even more styles of working with data. So we often hear now about structured and unstructured, but we also hear about batch and real time. And then, you look at the current landscape, and we've gone from those concepts to now going, well, how can we use these AI agents to actually process data? And how can we get the AI agents to actually process the data without any human interaction? So instead of having developers and data engineers building those data flows from source systems through to analytical platforms and then out into dashboards, and they're now even getting to the point of producing data as podcasts, which is phenomenally incredible to see the transition of the data world happening in that space. But now you're seeing data professionals, instead of upskilling on certain products and platforms, they're now having to learn to work with AI to be that middle ground. It's almost like a middleware for us. So we put things like AI in and use that. We use prompt engineering. We use prompts to help productivity improvement, but we also use it to set up the data feed so that it can interpret any new data that gets added and automatically interpret it through. So that's some of the changes we're seeing. And a lot of people panic initially when they see that their jobs are getting replaced by AI. But look at what happened in the last couple of years. We went through a pandemic globally. A lot of the jobs that you see now didn't exist. We didn't have companies producing masks. We didn't have byproducts of some industries creating hand sanitizer and things like that. So it's all just a transition and an evolution. And the one thing we can ground ourselves on is just making sure that we're prepared to adapt to change, because the role we do today might not be the role we do tomorrow. And then as a female working in that field, working in a STEM field, it's important to create a support system around you. And I recommend that absolutely anyone out there in the community who is a female in a STEM field, whether that be you're studying at school or you're a professional in an industry, if you're in an industry where females aren't predominant, then look for things like user groups and communities and support networks. So within Data Platform, we have Women in Tech, which is a Women in Tech global community. They often run user groups. It doesn't mean males and people who don't identify as either male or female can't attend. It just creates a safe space for females to be able to go to those sorts of things and get that support network around them. So I know there are times where I've sat in meetings and I get a different interaction than my male colleagues. I take that sort of scenario, of course, don't say your company name or anything. I might take that to a user group and run it past a number of other data professionals in the world or other professionals in other fields and see whether they have a different perspective. And what I found in one scenario was where I would sit in a meeting and I could get referred to as blunt, bossy, and all these things. But if a male colleague would say the same thing, they might get referred to as confident, whereas I would get referred to as like aggressive. So then you do things like sitting on your hands and so less hand movement gestures, changing your voice tone to be much more softer. And that way you might be saying the same thing, but using a different tone can come across differently. Work with male colleagues around you to create that ally system. So if you know you're going to walk into a meeting and it's going to be hostile, you can go, that's okay. I've got some ideas. What I'll do is make sure that I've got a colleague that can either back the ideas up, and that way it gives you a second perspective that's not coming from you. So if there's any unconscious bias in the room, you've got an ally there to be able to support it. Because ultimately you're just there to get the job done and get the outcomes that support what you're after. And so if there is bias coming into play that's making it difficult for you personally to get the outcomes across, then you've got to work with other strategies to be able to get the same outcome that you're after. So sometimes I might not say something directly in a meeting. I might have pre-briefed a coworker with all the information, and that way, if they feel it's appropriate, they might raise it on my behalf. And sometimes that will be the case, is I could say something and a male colleague may then say the exact same thing and they'll credit it to me, but it might be interpreted by others in the room differently because they've got different biases. But just like females have challenges, minority groups have challenges, neurodiverse people have challenges, everyone has challenges. But the great thing is to be able to work in a really diverse environment, because you don't want to work with people that are like-minded and you're all the same, because then you don't have that diversification in thinking, of backgrounds. And when I work on projects, my favorite thing is to work with a diverse group of people, because then I can get the best possible outcome. But hopefully I have helped you learn something today, because I know we only get a short amount of time, which is awesome. But feel free to drop me questions in the chat, reach out to me on socials. I do run a user group. I know about a lot of the user groups in my professional area around the globe. So if you're interested in getting into data, please do network with me. I would absolutely love it.
Thanks so much, Heidi. Heidi's LinkedIn account ID has been dropped in the chat. Please feel free to connect with.
I think the first pivotal moment in my career was when I had a male tech lead take me to a user group over lunch, a technical user group. It's the first time I'd experienced user groups. But then I understood that now I have this entire community I never knew existed that's outside of my employer potentially, but it's accessible. And now when I travel the globe, I make sure that when I meet people that they know that there's this massive virtual family out there that can help you and support you. And if you're ever feeling it, it's very common to feel imposter syndrome. If you're neurodiverse, to feel like you're the odd one out. If you're in a project and you might be facing a lot of challenges, you might feel like you're being gaslit. So having that support network around you can be absolutely invaluable, so that you can level set with other people around you, as opposed to feeling like you're the odd one out and everything. There's definitely a community for everyone. So that's sort of what I do, is try to share it with everyone else around the world.
Thanks so much, Heidi. And for those of you who are joining right now, please rename yourself from Srimoyee to your name, because there's a technical glitch that happened with the email that I sent. Apologies, I'm just learning.
Absolutely. Awesome question. So Microsoft Fabric being a data analytics platform or a data platform across the board, the key thing when you're working with AI and making it ethical and equitable is not having just one perspective. If you just have one perspective, then your data is already biased, your solution is already biased. And with AI being something that is predominantly working off training, so it's trained on a data set and then it's applying it to any other data set that comes in. So if you train it on one perspective, from one person's perspective only, your data is already biased, your AI is already biased. So being a female in the role, it's important to come to the party, to go, look, I have another perspective that's different to other people, in the same way that if you're from a different gender, a different cultural background, a different company size, you want to be making sure that your voice is heard. No voice is small, and no voice should be obfuscated. All voices are necessary, because multiple perspectives are needed to make sure that you've got a platform that is working for everyone. And you think about your consumers, your users, they're not just one cookie cutter person. They often come with requirements and stakeholders and someone that funnels the requirements in, but it doesn't mean you're not building something for multiple people. So the more perspectives you take into account, the better chance that your solution is going to be robust and it's going to live a lot longer and be adaptable over time, as opposed to being very pigeonholed to one problem and one way of solving that problem, and then it can't adapt. And then it's also not a competitive solution either, because being able to adapt with the changes is going to keep you competitive in the market.
Thank you. That was such a great lens into, where data and design intersect is all, happening here right now. Our next guest is Johnathan Maltby, career strategist, coach, and creator of the Career Mastery Framework. He brings clarity, strategy, and empathy into leadership journeys without the fluff. Johnathan, welcome.
Thanks very much, Sri, and great to see everybody here today. As Sri said, my name is Johnathan Maltby. I'm coming to you from the Sunshine Coast up here in Queensland. A little bit about me: I like to think of myself as more of a sort of a peak performance coach. I help people kind of really elevate their thinking and their actions to reach new levels, whether it be in their career, it could be in their business, or just kind of life in general. I love working with people who are confused. And that's often confused around their professional identity, confused about how they should go launch a business, or confused really around what's their path going forward. So I've developed a number of frameworks over the last nearly 12 years that have kind of helped people sort of deconstruct their thinking, how to get rid of all the clutter that's in their head, and really kind of get that clarity. And that's really kind of clarity around themselves. Who and what are they? It's clarity around their skills. What I find is people tend to only really know their skills at a very kind of surface level, but they're all sitting on a gold mine of skills. And if we could tap into those and be able to articulate and language those, it can be really, really powerful. It's clarity around their purpose. And that's helping them find careers or build businesses or careers that really energizes them, gives them a sense of purpose and meaning, and also clarity of career direction or business direction. I find the longer that we've been in the workforce, the more noise and clutter we've gathered in our heads. And I've got some great techniques that help people kind of declutter and get that clarity. So I've been doing this for about 12 years. Prior to that, I was working in career. I worked in career coaching for an organization, and I built their career coaching program. And prior to that, I actually worked in recruitment, and that's when I kind of learnt what it takes to be a really good job seeker, how people can kind of plug themselves into different systems, how to sell themselves as well. And I took those concepts and those learnings, and I developed my kind of career mastery framework or career mastery programs. And I've taken a good few hundred of people through those over the last few years. I also do the business coaching, and more recently, I've been really kind of getting into a lot of men's work and men's coaching, men's mental health coaching, but particularly at high performance men in leadership positions. Because one of the things that they always tell me is, Johnathan, it's lonely at the top. And it is. And so I've been helping and coaching them through some of those things as well. In my practice, I've been using almost every single day, I start using a new feature of AI in my practice, whether it's getting insights, whether it's helping people create brand messages. I'm really kind of working a lot in that space. It's getting really exciting. I learned a whole lot of new things just from a conversation that I had with someone today. Also in talent acquisition, and that was absolutely fantastic and really kind of eye-opening there as well. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. That's a lot of the sort of stuff that I do. I've changed careers 9 times over the course of my history. I started off as a high school teacher. I've worked in sales, I've worked in marketing. As I said, I've also worked in recruitment as well. And I think this AI is an absolute game changer. A lot of people are scared of AI, I find, but then a lot of people were scared of spell check when it first came out in the 1980s as well. So yeah, so that's me. Happy to talk about some other things if you're interested in really kind of AI and what it means from a candidate side. That's a really, really good question, and it's something that I kind of spend a lot of time in over the last 12 years. I've really kind of found that the biggest mind shift thing that people can have, especially now in an AI-driven environment, is to basically reframe how they see themselves in their job, but also how they approach their job search as well. What I find is that most people, when they're on the job hunt, typically the most logical thing to do is jump on the job boards, right? And they scan the job ads, they read through the key selection criteria, and they think, yep, I've got this. This is perfect. I've got all these kind of things here. Logic tells me that I should be, or I fit the brief, I will be a good candidate. And that sounds logical, right? But I find that there's a problem with that. And that means that if you are looking and you're positioning yourself as a good candidate, you're doing nothing to differentiate yourself from everybody else kind of doing the same thing. So with everybody kind of positioning themselves as a candidate, what I find people are doing is they're shaking their CV around and they're shaking their LinkedIn profile around and they're going, hire me, hire me. But that does nothing to differentiate. And so what I find is that a lot of people kind of approach the job search from really sort of a transactional mindset. They go, here are my skills, here is my experience, give me the job. And that just creates a lot of noise. So to stand out And I use this technique for a lot of people as well. I think you really need to do something quite radically different, and that starts by how you see yourself. So the way that I help people kind of stand out or reframe or change their mindset is as follows. And this is kind of where it starts. Think about it this way. All businesses have problems. Okay, every business has a set of problems, and it could be that they're struggling to generate revenue. It could be that they're dealing with high costs. It could be, staffing challenges, client acquisition. It could be operational inefficiencies. Okay, so whatever those problems are, this is causing the business pain. Okay, the bigger the pain that they're in, the better it is for you as a candidate, because you're going to turn their pain into opportunity. Your goal, all right, as a candidate looking for a role, for example, is to stop seeing and positioning yourself as another candidate and start seeing yourself as a solution to a set of these kind of high value business problems. And I find that your real value really lies in the outcome that you can help organizations achieve. So you want to think about yourself as part of this mindset shift is, what are the problems that I solve? What are the roadblocks that I help organizations overcome or remove? What results do I deliver? In other words, how do I help businesses win in the market? And this is what leaders and hiring managers are really looking for at the end of the day. They're not looking at just what you've done. They're looking for how you've done it and how has that moved the business forward. So that means you need to understand that your skills and all of the experience that you've got is not the destination. It is the vehicle. And when you solve these problems, you help the business move forward and you help them achieve their strategic goals. And that's really the real value. That's what gets attention. Another concept that I can throw in here very quickly, just in terms of mindset shift, is if any of you have ever worked in a business where they've had to bring consultants in, external people to come in and solve a range of problems. And that's usually because they don't have the internal capacity to fix those problems themselves. So what they tend to do is they go out and they find somebody else who can fix those problems. And what does a good consultant do? They ask smart, targeted questions. Questions like, hey, what's your biggest challenge right now facing your business or achieving your goals? Or it could be, what are the bottlenecks that you're having in your organization? What would an ideal outcome look like? And it could be something like, hey, what have you already done to try and fix this problem? And from there, the consultant goes away and then maps out a strategy, puts together a solution that hopefully helps the business overcome those problems. This also highlights a mindset, because what you want to do is you want to adopt a consultative mindset to how you kind of approach your career or jobs or interviews, okay? Because here's what usually happens. I find, and I know this, I remember this from my recruitment days, a candidate would walk into an interview and the interviewer will be firing questions down to the candidate. The candidate would be firing answers back up to the recruiter or the hiring manager. The playing field is not level. All right, they're up, you're down. We want to level that playing field. And that's where that mentality or mind shift comes in. So if we go in with that consultative mindset, we can start actually asking real questions in that interview that kind of separates you from all those other candidates. You want to be able to dig into their challenges, showing that you understand their business, and then start positioning yourself as someone that can solve their pain. And people who have used this technique of thinking of themselves as a solution to a problem, not just a candidate, and going in with that consultative mindset, it's been an absolute game changer. So here's just some kind of things to sort of think about as I wrap up this part here, is that you're not just selling a skill set, you are showcasing a mindset. And once you get clear on this, okay, you stop selling a CV and you end up selling results. Now, an AI can shortlist you. Definitely. That's where the automation and all that kind of comes in. But what it can't do is replicate your presence. It can't replicate your energy or your ability to build trust. So what I say to people is stop trying to get hired, okay? Start showing up as someone who can help a business thrive, because that's how you cut through all the AI noise and that's how you stand out. So that's, yeah, I hope that answers that question. This is a really powerful question. This is pretty huge. I think AI obviously takes care of more of the kind of routine, everyday tasks of hiring. But what really matters, and this is what you've got to get clear in your head, is what makes you valuable is your human side now in an AI kind of world. All right. Things like your creative thinking, your emotional intelligence is also really important. Your leadership presence, if you're in that leadership position, how you approach commercial aspects of a business, and your ability to adapt as well. Think about it this way. In the past, people were typically hired to do a job. Today, you're hired to solve problems and create outcomes. So rather than focus on your duties, all right, start thinking and speaking in terms of things like impact. Again, what problems do you solve? How do you improve the business? It could be a process, it could be performance, it could be a reduction in costs, it could be something around culture or increased revenue. But you always want to be thinking, how do I create value? And how does this help businesses win? And when it comes to standing out, you want to be able to take these concepts and really put them into your brand story. And that goes into your CV, it goes into your LinkedIn, and it goes into when you interview as well. So hopefully that answers that question.
Well, that was packed with light bulb moments, Johnathan. Thank you so much. Now, wrapping up our speaker lineup is someone whose work I've admired for years. Belle Gama, founder and CEO of Air Branding. Belle doesn't just build brands, she transforms how people feel at work. Belle, take it away.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone. So I'm Belle Gama, CEO and co-founder of Air Branding, an agency focused on employer branding across Latin America. Our headquarters are in São Paulo, Brazil, but I'm in Lisbon now. I'm living here. So for over 10 years, we've helped companies to build strong and authentic employer brands to attract, engage, and keep great people. At Air, we really believe that employer brand is in the air. So you can feel it when you walk into a company. It's in the culture, it's how people act, and in the vibe they create. AIR also stands for attraction, integration, and retention. So I'm really glad to be here and excited to share some what we learned. And three, I want to take this special moment to congratulate you and wish you the best on your journey with Lumen. As women, starting a business takes a lot of courage, and you are already in the right path.
Thank you so much, Belle.
So I think the first question that you sent me, Sri, it was about empathy. How can we build storytelling with true empathy? And what I think it's one common mistake that we see is treating empathy like a campaign and not a real commitment. Many companies say that they want to be more human, but their hiring process is still cold, rigid, and made only for the company's comfort. Empathy means thinking about every step from the candidate side, how long they will wait, the way the feedback is given, how easy it should go through the process. I brought some data. LinkedIn says that 49% of the professionals have rejected an offer after a bad experience with the company, even if the job or the salary was good. This shows that empathy is not just a nice value, it's something that makes companies stronger. When empathy is missing, people feel like numbers, not like people. And that's when companies lose trust and great talent. It's also important to remember that empathy means different things in different cultures. I'm Latin America, and many global companies use the same automated hiring process everywhere without thinking about cultural differences, especially in Latin America. This creates distance and makes the process feel less human. For example, in Latin America, being 5 minutes late, it's usually okay. But in some parts of Europe, that's a problem, a real problem. Some questions that are too personal for people in Asia may feel normal or even friendly in North America. These differences make it hard for global companies to run fair and human hiring process in every region. And another thing that I want to talk about is go in storytelling beyond the campaigns. It's very true that good brands attract, but if the experience after that doesn't match the story, people leave. That's something that I learned in air branding. That's why employer branding can't stop at storytelling. It has to shape how we design the full journey, especially hiring and onboarding. At Air Branding, you always say that a brand is not just what you say, it's what people feel when they go through the process. So how can how can employer brand help? By working side by side with HR and ask, is this experience welcoming? Does it reflect our values? Does the candidate feel respected and informed? For example, if your brand says, I care about people, this is your motto or your EVP slogan, but the candidate waits like 3 weeks with no feedback, the story is broken. So the same happens in onboarding. If you promise growth and connection, but the person's first day is cold, unstructured, or full of paperwork, we're losing the moment when the trust could begin. So great employer branding is not just about attracting talent, it's about helping HR to design human, clear, and true experience that match the story. That's how we do it here in Air Branding.
Thank you so much, Belle. And I think that was beautiful. I mean, I felt every word, and I'm sure everyone here did too. So, and if you're curious to go deeper, I'd love to chat. I'm dropping my booking link in the chat. You can book a free 45-minute discovery session with me. And if you're in Melbourne, let's grab a coffee and just start a conversation. You don't have to figure this all alone and all by yourself. And one more thing, our website is officially live. We would be showcasing and sharing that. It's just a small little thing that we've put together, or we could put together now. So allow me a minute while we just share the link with you in the chat, and also have a look, explore, and let me know what resonates. It's something that we've worked behind in silence over the last 1.5 months, and this is what it looks like. And yes, meet our team. Yes, that's the team that we have. And please book your sessions with me. And if you would want some more discovery things to happen, like as I mentioned, it doesn't have to be that you would do this all by yourself. And we're coming almost to the end of this session. And I couldn't, thank you enough, all of you, for joining me here today. It's just been amazing to hear your voices, and, at least the fact that all of you in your busy schedule have been here, it's just been so amazing for me to see those lovely faces, some of my ex-work colleagues and everybody out here. I'd be honored to hear from you. So let's keep lighting the path together. Thank you so much, everyone.